Well, I became a Christian in my teenage years, but it wasn't a dramatic conversion. It wasn't a particularly exciting story. I wasn't saved from any particularly tragic background. No history of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, broken homes in my family. I grew up in a really happy family and a very wealthy family. Grew up in a beautiful farm manor house in the Hertfordshire countryside in the midst of my grandmother's 1,200-acre estate. My parents had property in Hertfordshire, a few houses there, a house in Edinburgh, a house in London, and a beautiful holiday home in France as well. And so I had everything I could have wished for. And then I had this great education, very expensive education that meant, I suppose, it was a bit easier for me to get a place at Oxford to read history. And from there I walked into a job in the city, and by the age of 25 my boss left and I was able to take on the running of a €1 billion property fund. I had the salary and the bonuses to go with it. I had everything I needed. And so I suppose the question for some people looking onto my life would be, why bother with Jesus? But Jesus himself said, what good is it for a man to gain the whole world and yet forfeit his soul? And you know, that rings absolutely true. Because when I was at boarding school and had the opportunity to go along to the Christian meeting there and to hear them explain the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, and I got to look into his life for myself, I became convinced that he really was who he said he was, and that his verdict on my life was absolutely accurate. That despite my social education, despite the fact that I thought I was good and right in my own eyes, under the exterior there's a heart full of sin, a heart that had pushed God out of my life, that had rejected him, and I deserved for him to reject me for all eternity. I knew that was true. And so it was that the Christian message of Jesus dying for my sins became incredibly good news. And I put my trust in him as a teenager, and I really started going for it at school, especially when a Christian member of staff challenged me and he said, Alex, if you believe that you're going to heaven and your friends who don't know Jesus are going to hell, then if you don't tell them about Jesus, either you don't love them or you don't love God. And the lights turned on and I understood properly for the first time that I really had been saved from hell for heaven, and that other people needed to know that amazing news too. But it wasn't just the rescue story that grabbed me. I knew that Jesus was absolutely right when he said that I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. And I'm convinced that living for him in every area of life is the best way to live.